in being quiet and having an open heart, there's really this warmth and this love that shines through.
Today, I wanted to bring forward the subject of inflation. Inflation is a word that describes the familiar ego pattern that we all participate in that says, I'm so great. It's this pattern where we put attention on me and then puff up to believe I'm someone good, or I'm someone better than, or I'm someone who's improving. It's all about me and how important I am. And also, it can seem to feel kind of good. But when we look closer, we can see that this flavor of believing and puffing up, it's a movement that takes effort. Inflation ignores being inherently connected, and it denies inherent goodness and being enough as you are. It also says, I'm separate from the flow of life and I need to do something about it. So let's talk about one subtle way that inflation can show up, or at least how it showed up for me, and what we can learn from it together today. But I had a really curious insight, a really revealing insight the other day where I discovered that I often confuse inflation for joy. And what I mean by that is I was examining a pattern that was going on for me, and I was checking in with like, well, what's happening emotionally when this pattern shows up? And as I was checking in, what is the emotion that's present? I noticed that I wanted to call the emotion joy, but there was no body sensation of joy. It didn't feel joyful. My body was giving signals of being tense and controlling and inflated. And there was this quite amusing realization that in my whole life, there are times where I say I'm feeling joyful, and really what I'm expressing is I'm in a puffed up, egoic state that's identified as someone who's doing really well and in control and achieving something. And this is inflation. I'm laughing, I'm smiling as I say it out loud because the exposure of this is so sweet and reveals a possibility to stop confusing inflation for joy and to not sell out in that way, to not choose this bastardization of joy and instead stop inflating and experience the sincere emotion of joy. And the difference is really simple and exceptionally clear when I pay attention and check in. Inflation feels tense. There's a clenching in the body. There's a lot of effort to do something and a lot of like pressure in my head and attention on presenting an image to the outside world. The body sensation is loud and painful. And it's an expression of the ego expressing, I'm in control, or I believe I'm in control of something illusory. Whereas the emotional experience of joy is formless, radiating from no particular point at all through everything, and bubbly and natural. There's no holding, there's no one. This is a really great teacher because I'm aware that inflation shows up so much in my life. That's the nature of inflation. Anything that's about my life, everything that seems to be about me, this is the realm of ego. And it's the arena where I'm either inflating or deflating. And this two sides of the same coin of being identified with ego. All of it is suffering. And some of it looks prettier and some of it looks more sad. It's all suffering.
It's really useful when you put it that way, that any egoic identification, any of it, any believing that you're a separate someone is inflation, period.
Or deflation, which is the same thing, inside out. All taking it personally to get something or to prove something.
Yeah, it was actually pointed out to me recently by one of the Leela School teachers, Jared, that even in a state of deflation, you're still inflated because everything's about you as if you're so important and what's going on for you is like the center of the universe. And even though you feel down about yourself or smaller in some way, that's still a way of being inflated, way of being important. So it really is two sides of the same coin. And in my experience, one always leads to the other, anyways. Any time I catch inflation, eventually that bubble pops and leads to deflation on the other side. And so it's useful to catch that arising. And since you said it comes up for you a lot, I'm curious what triggers this inflation for you.
It's a funny question. What triggers inflation? Choosing to be separate. Choosing to seek power, seek personal power in a subtle internal way. It's like a narrowing of the lens of awareness around this one body form. I don't know if I answered your question.
Well, you did, but it led to a further question about personal power and what it is about that that makes you choose it.
It's really about, for example, right now as I check in, first thing I'm aware of is quiet. The most beautiful, empty quiet. And for inflation to begin, there's attachment to something, trying to get something. There's a sense of me who needs to have a relationship with quiet. There's a sense of I am aware of quiet, which means I have to do something about it. And then there's wanting to get, which is synonymous with seeking personal power. Because as long as there's an I who's observing, witnessing, being aware of quiet, there's a separation that needs something. And as I say this, I feel there's a pull. Um, Let me find words for this. There's a survival drive, like a body sensation of energy rising up to be put towards doing something in service of surviving in the context of quiet, in the context of emptiness, which is kind of terrifying. If I'm separate from emptiness, that is alarming. Again, I don't know if I answered your question, but how beautiful that this is what's exposed here is this core belief that I am aware of quiet. And so I must inflate the deal with quiet, which is so, so different from being awareness itself, being quiet.
You're answering the question so beautifully. You're really articulating in a step-by-step way how we go from this natural state of quiet and empty to the very first arising of ego, being separate, needing something. That's the nature of ego, based in survival. That is the nature of ego. You're exposing it in real time as it comes up out of emptiness and quiet.
I'm laughing a little bit because this word that comes is self-awareness, or two words that I hear are very celebrated often, like so beautiful to be self-aware. And I'm noticing in this, what I just described, it's like self-awareness can describe a sense of believing I'm separate from something. And this question comes, what if self-awareness meant being aware of who am I?
Yes, Eli talks a lot about discernment. And so part of this self-awareness that you're talking about is discerning who you are from who you are not. And really, this is what ego is. It's who we believe we are, but when examined, when the light is shined on it, it's seen through to be fiction. And there's this possibility to discern what is true, what is real, who you really are. But that really takes slowing down in the moment, as you did so beautifully, to examine from the start of emptiness and quiet what's the very, very, very first arising. It's so cool the way that you did that. Really reveals the possibility for anyone. Maybe their structure of survival is not exactly the same as yours, but it doesn't matter. It's still possible to have this self-awareness.
Yes, self-awareness that includes and sees through everything. I feel there's a, a trap that can show up when we use the words who I am not. I often see that this can result in like wanting to like cut off from parts of or reject or control or fix, get rid of ego or clean up ego. And this invitation is to push against nothing and simply to see through.
Yeah, because then you can see through this one that is wanting to reject or push away or cut off. So it's not like a denial of something. It's not negating something that is showing up. It's just examining it.
With love, being love. Love is here.
That's the thing when we talk about ego, that it comes with a sort of built-in agenda, wanting something, needing something, grasping for something, as if something needs to be different, as if I need to be different. And that's a rejection of myself in some way. But in quiet, in self examination, nothing needs to change. That implies that I can be exactly as I am. And that is very loving, not in a theoretical way. It's like if you stop for a moment and feel into that, nothing to do, nothing to get. You can be exactly as you are. You can just chill. That feels so warm and loving. That's what we all want. Who doesn't want that? Find me one person that wouldn't want that.
I'm so touched by this and this word, even self-examination. If we redefine self, not to mean this separate body, this identified form, but self to mean who we really are. And the flavor of self-examination, self-reflection, self-inquiry, so loving, so joyful.
So quiet.
And there's no need to do anything.
I feel like that quiet piece is really important because it exposes other traps as well. If there's a lot of thinking going on, a lot of analyzing in some way, or talking to yourself, or judging, or however it might show up, mind activity in any way, that's a signal. And I can very clearly feel the difference in myself. None of that feels loving. It feels very separate, very detached. Because I'll talk to people sometimes and they'll explain how and I've noticed this in myself too, where it can be like, well, I was so quiet and I was so open. And there can be such a subtle trap in that where there's like someone doing it. And the difference for me is really in the felt sense. In being quiet and having an open heart, there's really this warmth and this love that shines through.
It's deeper than someone doing it, more natural. It's closer to grace.
Something about that really touches me because I don't really fully understand it from the level of my mind, and yet the words on a deep, deep level really resonate and touch me closer to grace. It just reveals this open, vast, unknown reality.
That is open to itself. I'm aware. It's like with these words, I want to reach back in time to myself 5 years ago and give her a shake and invite her to stop trying to get quiet, try to see through and sort everything out, try to know how. I want to point her to the embrace of love that's always here, that is the reason she's interested in this and is already open.
I really appreciate this sentiment and feel like it's an opportunity to allow us and all our listeners to actually go on a small, short, quick journey. And maybe just a quick note that if you are driving right now, you might want to pause this before this little journey starts.
And then come back to it when you're not driving or when you've parked.
And so, for those of you who are already parked, there is this possibility to just imagine meeting a younger version of yourself. Maybe it's 5 years ago, maybe it's 10 years ago, maybe it's much further back in time than that. And as you see this younger version of yourself, although the impulse might be to give her or him a shake, what would it be like to give a hug, to give an energetic outpouring of love directly from your heart into their heart, to look them eye to eye so that they can see the love pouring out of your eyes and they could feel the love energetically coming out of your body and entering into theirs. So that perhaps just for a moment, just for one moment, they can feel so deeply held and loved and supported. To just have this opportunity to feel like in this moment, everything is okay as it is. That is a gift.
And then this embrace to receive confirmation that they can put everything down.
Sometimes it can feel like we're holding a lot. And so to get the invitation to put it all down, that can feel really good.
And from here, if you're willing, maybe you don't have to pick it up again. Maybe you can simply wait and see what's revealed.
The best way to see what is revealed is to be open and quiet enough to receive that. So we don't know what exactly will be revealed for you.
But you are aware of what's here.
We started this with self awareness, and we come back to this awareness to end what feels like a really quiet, open, loving episode.
And we'd love to hear from you if you're listening and you have a way to contact either Jonas or myself. Let us know.
Thank you, Maeve.
Thank you, Jonas, and thank you, everyone, for listening.